Warnings for this video, very little, but beware the dangerous amounts of salt and petty bitching about decades-old tea that no one but this creator cares about. You have been warned. Welcome to the new layout, my sweet babadoodles. What do you think? Oh, you don't care? Great, I had nothing else planned for this intro anyway. So, nice guys. I know what you're thinking. Story spent half miladying and half preparing yourself for the feminist smackdown and the inevitable and everybody clapped ending. But no, none of that. No one has ever clapped for me in my life and my Reddit-worthy comebacks, and I feel goddamn cheated by that fact.
Maybe you've just never said anything clap-worthy.
Anyway, my young lads, ladies, and everything in between, before we get too deep into this story, I want to make the obligatory disclaimer. While this happened many years in the past, when dinosaurs still roamed the earth and I still had a rough idea of what grass actually felt like, do not try to figure out whomst I'm discussing. Most of the people I make passing mention of here are almost all still my friends to this day, and no one did anything with active malicious intent. We were all kids when these things went down, and kids be fucking wild, I tell ya. So go easy on the babies, yeah? This is all for a bit of a laugh and maybe to learn something from my mistakes. So, TLDR, no harassing anyone or I'm coming to woo your wives. You know the drill by now. And I did have a few very concerned commentators asking if I'd romance their husbands too, and yes, I will. I will wreck all your homes equally, don't you worry. I'd also like to emphasize that this video is purely based around my own personal experience, which essentially means that we're talking feelings and personal perception today. Welcome to the video that is 1000% anecdotal and unashamed to admit as such. These next few minutes shall consist of little more than my personal opinions, observations, and takes born from my own shoddy personal experiences. I keep saying the word personal. I'm sorry, I'll stop. That is to say, I'm not a shrink or a philosopher or a human behavioral scientist, nor am I ContraPoints or Philosophy Tube. Seek them out for big brain squishiness. Here, we only have idiot energy. With all that out of the way, let's get onto it. The background. For anyone that hasn't heard the news, let me very quickly summarize what little high school Mal was like. She sucked. She was cold, antisocial, judgmental, hella depressed, and to top it all off, violent. Just ready to throw hands over the smallest of slights, perceived or otherwise. Like, I'm not kidding, I was biting people up until I was about 16. I was practically feral. I feel the need to express this because it has always baffled me as to how anyone could have a crush on little me at all. But I guess the gamer anime tsundere girl trope I could pass as at the time was some neckbeard's fantasy. There's an anime waifu out there for everyone. But I digress. My point is that the titular character of this story was a young man I met in my first year of high school, when he made the fateful decision to turn around and talk to me on the bus after overhearing me talk about anime. His eyes bulged, his jaw dropped, and like any self-respecting shut-in nerdy boy in the early 2010s, he asked the fateful question. You like anime? But you're a girl. And I hated him. More than words could possibly express. But we were on the bus to camp and we were going to be stuck together for at least the next week, and he was best friends with another boy that was friends with all my friends, so I had no choice but to be somewhat tolerant. Oh, the joys of high school politics. So, what did I do? I spent the rest of the bus ride explaining to him in graphic detail the process of removing fingernails and eyeballs. Some scenes I'd ripped straight from Higurashi and some I made up on the spot. Pretty sure the biology behind it was all wrong, but we're all squishy red stuff inside, so I figured it was easy enough to get the idea across. Foolishly, I believed this would make him leave me alone, either out of fear or disgust. I had previously had other kids try to stone me as a witch, so there was precedent for this reaction in my mind. Look, like I said, Mini Mal had issues, and so did everyone else in that godforsaken school. Unfortunately for me, it seemed to have the opposite effect, and within the week I had myself a new shadow. For a while it was just annoying having him trailing around after me and trying to get into my good books, keeping in mind I hated everyone by default and was an edgy little youngster. But after some time he was slowly integrated as a member of the friend group, and I settled into just having him around and doing my best to ignore his needier behavior. And then the gifts begin. Oh, the gifts. We're talking chocolate, jewelry, love letters, soft drinks, little trinkets, and at one point, perfume from his mum. It was a lot. Initially, my dumbass didn't think anything of it, just snatched up the gifts like a little dragon adding to her pile of looted goods. What? So I like getting given things, sue me. But then it comes, the inevitable. Look, I'm not saying you have to pay me back for the gifts or anything, but like, I'm putting a lot more effort into this than you are, so could you consider going out with me? Nani the fuck? Pro tip, ladies, do not accept gifts unless they are purely platonic. If you can't be sure of their intentions, never accept a gift unless it's for Christmas or birthdays or some shit. We'll give a pass for those. And for my boys, I don't know what it's like for you in the gift-giving world, so I guess you should follow this advice too. I don't know, just... Does this happen in reverse? My fellow dudes, does a woman give you like a watch or something and then be like, hey, why is my pussy uneaten? Oh my god, I'm really pushing YouTube, aren't I? I opened with a swear and now we're talking about... Okay, moving on. I've got to cut that. I'm not going to. You're going to suffer through this with me. Just don't get accidentally wrapped up in stupid strings like this. Ain't no one out here needing to get guilted into sucking dick for a packet of Tim Tams. So, after this bombshell, I told him in no uncertain terms that I did not want any gifts from him anymore. Yet they continued to appear in my life, just like teenage acne, just popping up unwanted and ruining my day. They either came through others giving them to me or just rocked up in my backpack, which is kind of creepy, and he still acted indignant that I wasn't being grateful and swooning. Cool. And next came the love letter, the one that arrived at my fucking house. Now, Mal, I hear you asking, how did he know where you lived in order to give you this love letter? Well, we can all thank Bob for that, you two-timing bitch. I love that woman with all my heart, but her investment in my non-existent love life is going to get me on a serial killer's radar one day, I'm telling you. Anyway, yes, I arrive home one day to find a little love letter stashed away in my mailbox, and while I won't be cruel enough to read it out loud for you all, I do have some respect for a lovesick fool's boundaries. Boundaries who did not respect for me, by the way. I will summarize its contents for you. Alright, we're whipping out the bitch voice for this one, boys.
You are gamer girl, ooh, be my girlfriend pretty please. You're cute and kind and sweet, and I see what no one else sees in you. I am a very nice guy. I like video games and anime, so we were just meant to be.
Wow, I'm sorry. I just subjected you all to that. I'm not going to change it. You can just suffer. That's more or less the gist of the letter. And I hated it! I was insulted by this letter. Cute, sweet, kind? Me? The gremlin, Helion, ice queen bitch from hell? It occurred to me at this point that he didn't actually like me at all. He had made up someone else for me to be, some cute anime-loving geeky girl that would make all his nerd fantasies come true. Well, fuck that. I had no self-restraint that day, and by God, you know I was down to make a bitch cry. You're getting high school Mal energy today. Can you tell this is not my usual standard of video? I can tell. This is the best we're getting. So I told him, up front, that he didn't know me at all, and I didn't like his ass. And we didn't speak for a while. And what beautiful silence it was. But then... oh god. But then the pressure began. Welcome to the pressure phase. This is where everyone else starts to do the heavy lifting for the nice guy. Alright my boys, take a seat. The girls gotta have a little chat for a hot second. I'll bring you back to class in just a moment. Okay my darlings, let's be real now that the boys have all muted out of respect and are absolutely not hearing this. We suck. Like, we really suck, and nice guys are enabled by some of our bullshit too. Let's not put all the blame onto our poor, single-wielding Y-chromosome brothers. Now, it's not entirely our fault either. The media and toxic male entitlement has its place too, don't get it twisted. But for those of us that grew up in high school with a gaggle of girlfriends, you may have seen the behaviour I'm about to refer to. The just give him a chance approach. Boys can do this too, but it's notably more prevalent with young ladies and lasses like you and once I. Don't worry, it's all innocent enough and it's nothing to be ashamed over. Not when every book, movie, game, trashy fanfiction tells you that romance is just around the corner if you let the nice guy in and stop being such a fucking ice queen. Just keep this all in mind the next time you encourage a gal pal to give it a go with some guy. Alright my darlings, I think this little heart-to-heart is all wrapped up. Let's get the boys back in here. Thank you boys for obviously muting and not listening to a single word of the girls-only chat. But boyos, now it's your turn. Come, gather round, I have an important rule for you all. When a bitch says nah, she means fucking nah. Capital N, fuck you, do not press forward type nah. I know that a good chunk of our media encourages perseverance and confidence, but I assure you it's not nearly as attractive as you think it is. At best, you're a tool. At worst, you're a stalker that needs a restraining order. Don't expect that if you do enough romantic gestures and are patient enough, she'll just fall for you. Like shit, maybe that happens on occasion, but trust me, if she kicks you in the shins and tells you that she'd rather hook up with a neatly stacked pile of horse shit, that's a pretty clear-cut no and you're just gonna have to hobble away on them shattered kneecaps. Right, preschool lectures are now over, let's continue with the story. During the peer pressure stage of the nice guy act, you're likely to hear all sorts of nonsense, such as,
Oh, why won't you give him a chance? You never give anyone a chance. You'll never get a boyfriend if you keep acting so bitchy. You don't have to be so mean to him, he's so nice to you. Why don't you just give it a go? So what if you have to settle? At least you won't be alone.
blah blah blah, bitch and moan, rinse, repeat. I also realized halfway through recording this that I am in fact coming across as a massive bitch. And I'm not going to stop. It's sass mal hours today, boys. Telling me over and over again that I'm being too callous and that I'm not appreciating how romantic he's trying to be by stalking me, to just give it the old college try. Who cares if he repulses me? I'll surely catch feelings if I just give the nice guy a chance. Because that's how all romantic stories go, right? And eventually, I just snap. I just break. Weeks upon weeks of this, being shunned and nagged and chided for being so cruel as to deny a boy some pussy. I need to stop. The government needs to crack down on me. I was told that it was a problem with me for never wanting to give anyone a chance in romance. Never mind what I felt, he was sad and pitiful, and I should take responsibility for his feelings and give him a try. Forgive me if I sound bitter, I still very much am. I don't hold a lot of love for the child that I used to be, but thinking back on this, imagining just seeing it from the outside now as an adult, kind of makes my blood boil a little bit. Boys, girls, everyone yet to be coined, please take this message. You don't owe anyone your heart or your time. You don't owe them diddly, jack, and or shit. No matter how many compliments, creepy love letters, grand gestures, or unwanted gifts they thrust onto you. Don't do what I did and crack under the pressure. After a while, I was convinced that there was something wrong with me. I wasn't meeting the expectations the books and movies had laid out for me. I'd never even had a crush on anyone, and after a long-time friend of mine explained to me her perspective on settling or dying alone and encouraged me to consider trying just to be in a relationship to avoid that, I kinda gave in. After all, if he loved me, then surely I would start to love him back, or at least be happy as well. After all, loving me is a very nice quality in a person. So I did the stupid and the unthinkable, and I told him I was willing to date. And it only got more awkward from there. Shocking to absolutely no one, feelings did not spring forth unbidden from the ether once we started dating. Quite the opposite, actually. I spent most of my time avoiding him or cringing away when he wanted to hold hands or stand closer than a few steps to me. Seriously, if you physically shift away in disgust at the thought of touching the person you're supposedly dating, maybe, just maybe, that's a fucking sign, mini-me. And, of course, the gifts began anew and with newfound vigor. I'd accidentally given him a boon, apparently. More jewelry, promises of movie tickets, and stuffed toys, even as I tried again and again to ask him not to buy me things. Dating or not, I knew what he wanted from those gifts now, and I just did not want them. Every gift came with the expectation that I'd allow more touching, more intimacy, more affection, and I wanted none of it because I wasn't having any of it. I was still being chided for being selfish when he was generously giving so much to me, and in short, I wanted out by day 3. But I knew I would be waylaid with more accusations of not giving him a proper chance, of breaking his heart, of being too cold, all over again. So I figured I'd stick it out a little longer and hope some sort of feeling would arise from my dead, cold heart. They did not, and every day I got more uncomfortable. So, when he told me he was going on a cruise, oh, you better believe I breathed a sigh of relief. Happy that he just wouldn't be around for about 2 weeks. And you know what they say, distance makes the heart grow fonder. For more distance into the sea with you, begone! And during those weeks of sweet, sweet reprieve, I came to realize the bleedingly obvious. I was just never going to be into this guy. Not now, not ever. And forcing myself to stick around just to avoid hurting his feelings was just not a sacrifice worth making. Not when at every turn he reminded me of how selfish I was being, how cold I was, how he hoped I'd be a better girlfriend. Not when he made up a personality for me that just wasn't mine. Not when he accused me of being a shallow whore that was more interested in jocks than him. Not when he stuck his nose up at the things I liked. Not when he reminded me constantly of how nice he was and how he'd treat me like a queen, like this is how you treat a queen. I didn't see any groveling, that's all I'm saying. And I mean, at the end of the day, even if I was head over heels for him, who would want to put up with any of that? So once my dashing incel returned from the sea, I was already primed to drop him the moment the situation arose. Now kids, what's that one rule I keep pressing onto you? No gifts? Remember that very, very simple little request I repeatedly made? Well, what do you know, this hoe brings me a gift, and I lost it. And we broke up over a caramello koala. A fucking caramello koala. I saw that chocolately Aussie mascot goodness, my favorite chocolate in the world, looked this boy in the eye and told him I wasn't gonna have it. I reminded him that I had repeatedly asked him not to give me gifts and he refused to listen to me. So then, I engaged the end protocol. Hey, we need to have a talk. Oh, is this that talk? Yeah, it is. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna go. Alright. Good talk. Honestly, a pretty neat breakup conversation if I do say so myself. Credit where credit is due, he took it all pretty gracefully. No fuss or dramatics. I thought we had both been very mature at that point. In total, we dated for less of a month, and half that time he was on a boat thousands of miles away from me. In truth, I really wouldn't consider this actual dating, but, that's subjective. If asked now, I'd tell you that I only ever had one serious relationship, and it sure as shit wasn't a 4-week no-contact relationship in high school. And with that, we're free, right? Relationship over, running across the vast open fields to better pastures. Oh, my sweet summer child, now the real bullshit begins. I had maybe a few hours of relief before the text began. First and foremost, he demanded I return every gift he'd ever given me, even before said relationship, Christmas and birthday gifts included. After all he said, seeing as we weren't dating anymore, those rightfully belonged to him now. And so I see the petty shit begins. Clearly he didn't remember who he was dealing with. No surprise really, given he built up an entire fake personality for me in his head, but I was vindictive and petty and I was ready to die on this hill. I did not give any of it back. What could not be given away, broken, otherwise used, or disposed of was tossed into the family fire. The only things that I kept was the love letter he first wrote me and a necklace with a cute little seahorse on it. I just couldn't part with it. What can I say? I like cute animal jewelry. The rest? Oh, the rest was gone to the wind and he didn't see any of it returned. And then the bad-mouthing began with renewed passion. Ice Queen, shallow, only into jocks, only interested in looks, used him, gold digger, I broke his heart, he'd never love again, no one would ever love him, blah blah blah, you get the drill. All intermingled with pathetic displays of please take me back, as if he could curse me in one breath then declare his love for me in the next. This is not a Jane Austen story, you obtuse fuck.
Wow, Mel, this guy sounds just awful. You avoided him like the plague, yeah?
Okay, so here's the thing.
Mel, you stupid slut.
Okay, yeah, I know, but listen. In high school, you don't pick your friends. Your existing friends and social circles decide who you will and will not be spending the rest of this ungodly hellscape with until graduation. We've already established this. So, yeah, life goes on as usual. High school is miserable, this guy shoots his shot about once a year until graduation, and then things devolve into adulthood, which has its own list of social nightmares, but I won't bore you with those stories today. For my own sanity's sake, if we're being perfectly honest. And at the end of all of this, what do we have to show for this tomfoolery? Well, I guess this video and a cluster of funny memories and some of the ridiculous things that went on to happen due to this behavior. In a way, it's actually a little depressing thinking back on it all. The fact that this guy never really liked me all that much, but liked this ideal version of me he'd created in his head, and then repeatedly berated me over the years for not measuring up to that anime waifu version he thought of me as. Or the unnecessary pressure peers apply to one another, which, for the longest time, led me to believe something was wrong with me for not having those romantic feelings. For being too frigid to not give a guy that I had no interest in a real chance. Or even just the repeated rejection and dejection that he probably felt whenever an advance, a grand gesture, an effort to give kindness or a gift was rebuffed. I don't doubt that sucked for him, self-imposed as suffering as it may have been. And you know the saddest thing about all of this? We could have been such good friends. But that was never really what he wanted, and whatever friendship was there would forever be tainted by that. It's kind of curious, isn't it? That we can't be friends with people we think we could be in love with. For me, that speaks volumes as to what sort of love that would be, and it's nothing I'd want for any of us. With that said, how about we wrap up with today's lesson? At the end of the day, while I think we can all enjoy a bit of childhood cringe and thinking back to the baby neckbeards in our past, I do actually want you to take something away from this silly little trip down memory lane. Love and attraction are not mathematical equations, no matter what the grifters and incels might want to believe. It would be nice, in a way, if it were, to be as simple as do A or B and you'll be attracted to the person you admire, but feelings simply do not work that way. Occasionally during rejections or breakups, we might hear the question of why, asking why you don't love them or why you won't give them a shot or what's wrong with them that you don't want them the way that they want you. Maybe you've asked this to someone yourself at some point. Asked yourself why that person you're stuck on just doesn't like you the way that you wish they would. Looking for an answer so maybe it could be solved, but the simple fact of the matter is that it doesn't need a reason. Oh sure, there might be one. Maybe you aren't emotionally available at the time, maybe their breath stinks, maybe she's a bit of a bitch, maybe he called you a whore that only likes chads not 5 minutes ago and thought you had the memory of a goldfish, I guess, or would be endeared by that. I don't know. The possibilities are endless. We are truly a repulsive species. But there is a simple end to the question that seems to be just too hard for some of us to accept if that is the reason given, that you just don't feel that way. That there is no reason. You can't put it down to a transgression or a failing on their part. Maybe they're even perfect and amazing in every way, and you think that they'd be lovely just for someone else, because you don't feel it, and at the end of the day, that is the only reason that you ever need. Sometimes the vibes just ain't meshing, I don't know what to tell you. If someone asks you why, and you tell them you just don't feel that way, and then they begin to bargain or beg or look for reasons as to why so they can somehow make the feelings emerge, as if this is a problem that is in need of solving, just walk away from it. You've already given your valid answer, you owe them no further explanation. There is nothing defective or lacking in your response. There's no need to try and give feelings a chance to spontaneously combust just because they're a nice person. If you don't feel it, you just don't, and there's nothing wrong with that. So why fake it? I know that I've gone on about this for some time, and we've moved a little bit away from spicy Mal hour, which this entire video was. Very strong wine mum energy, I think. But truly, the crux of my befuddlement is this. We see it in our media, in our friends, maybe it's happened to you, it's certainly happened to me, that rhetoric of giving them a chance because they're nice and they asked. Or they've started pursuing their object of attraction into stalkery and abusive territory that rom-coms tend to encourage, as if a no is something that can be worked around with enough time, grand gifts, stalking, and insistence that you deserve a better answer. As if anyone owes you anything more than a polite decline. It's a ridiculous implication that there's something wrong with you or that they've misstepped on the mathematical ladder to your heart, as if that's even a thing. That ludicrous, insulting, desperate question of, why don't you love me? And there's really only one answer needed. I just don't. And that's all there is to it. Hello, everyone. I live, kind of. It's been rough. Thank you, everyone, for watching this train wreck of a video. That's me having a wine afternoon. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you joined me on the journey down cringe memory lane. I'm going to be streaming after this, so please feel free to come and chat with me on Twitch or YouTube, whatever it ends up being. Tell me your cringe story. Were you an incel? Were you a tsundere bitch in high school like me? Come and chat to me. I'm very lonely. Anyway, I just want to say a quick thank you to my patrons for allowing me to continue on my bullshit. They should probably stop me, but they're not going to. Can you tell I'm drinking while I'm recording this? Oh my god, okay. Alright, I'm gonna go. I was gonna say I'm gonna go touch some grass, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to go and drink. I will see you all next time. I forgot my own outro. I love y'all. Bye.